How long have you been doing this, for one?
Uh,
How
I
long ago did you start?
I started 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was walking in a eco sort of place. Friends of mine who live there, and just suddenly an idea fell in my head, just like that. Like, would it be possible to build a living house? And then right away I asked a friend of mine who studied biology and knows a lot about nature and trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what do you think? Would it be possible to build a living house? And she was, well, it should be possible, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started.
And did you did you go through some sort of a university study and that you happened upon this idea, or is it something that you've always had, or
No, it was actually, I lived in Australia for a year,
yeah?
and I left everything behind in Holland, sold everything, gave everything away, and then I went to Australia. And within a month I was living in the bush, just under a tarp.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really nice to get connected with nature. And then after a year, I came back in Holland, and it sort of hurt how little nature there's left in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it started to my search for a key between man and nature. And
Mm-hmm.
we live in Holland, so I needed in Holland something only happens if it's functional, if it has a purpose. So that's why I found this idea to make trees functional and
Okay.
use them.
And what was the first assignment? How did that come about? Were
My
you approached, or did you?
My first assignment was a playground, and it was actually on a volunteer day.
Mm-hmm.
And people who owned the playground, they heard that I was doing stuff with willow, and they just asked me, and I went there and we built some lovely willow huts, small huts,
Mm-hmm.
because we had to do it in one day. And that was my first assignment. And from then on, I did a lot of speeches everywhere to get this technique known.
Right.
And since 2 years, I'm really busy with a lot of assignments.
So there's a lot of work coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
And let's see. And where was that first assignment again?
It was in Deventer.
In Deventer.
Yeah, it was at the Ulebelt, which is a sort of kids farm and educational area, and they're really struggling now with the crisis and stuff. But it's a really nice place, and that's also why I did it, because I know the people, and they're a really good institution.
Okay. When you go around and you're talking about this, how do you, quote unquote, how do you sell the idea? How do you get people
Mostly
into it?
yeah,
all?
mostly I take a slideshow with me
Mm-hmm.
to show what has been done already, and it's been going on since 1580. The oldest known painting of a woman in a living chair is from 1580, and there's also some really beautiful structures that are in California. There's a whole park, and they're 80 years old, intergrown trees that are woven and grown into each other. So they spark the imagination of people. And then with my story about how you could actually live in a living house, somehow the time is ready. Of course, this is the time to change. So people, after a little while, they have to get going on the idea. But once they see it, they really get enthusiastic, and I get a really high enthusiastic rate.
Okay.
It's yeah.
So you don't really have to do much, yeah, convincing at all. Once people see it.
I live in Holland, so I get a lot of critical questions, but I somehow have an answer for all of them, because
Excellent.
and it's because we work with trees, and trees have the ability to adapt to how they are bent or shaped, and they grow. So and people understand trees, even though they never learned anything in school about them or anything. It's sort of a thing that's in the DNA. If
Right.
a tree, you understand the tree. You've seen it grow. Everybody, even if you live in a town, you've seen trees.
Right.
And so I think it sparks sort of an ancient memory that trees are.
Yeah, sort of primordial
Yeah, something like that.
connection with it.
Yeah.
And what kind of trees do you use?
For small structures like these and playgrounds, I mostly use willow because you
Mm-hmm.
can plant them without roots, and you can
Yeah,
bend them
explain
really.
that. Planting without roots and then suddenly it comes to life. Some people are not going to get that. So.
Yeah, well, the willow is a tree that grows in wet areas, and it sort of reproduces itself by branches break off, they fall on the ground, and they root, and that's the way a willow works. And that system has been known to man a long, long time. And also, the willow is a very old Dutch product that it's been used a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this layer under the bark that is really, I think it's high phosphorus, and phosphor makes the roots grow really good.
Right.
And it's one of a few trees that actually do that. Most trees you have to put in water first to get some roots, but there's also very few trees that can do that. Most trees just have to hatch from an acorn or whatever
Right.
seed. But willow is just, yeah, you put it in the ground deep enough, like 60 centimeters deep, and then it takes on water through its
Through the veins.
and it roots really, really fast. In a couple of weeks, the first roots are there, and you have to sort of keep them wet the first year. But when they survive the first year, they'll turn into a big tree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It really is
Yeah.
amazing. How do you see an application of your system within cities today in order to get them greener?
Yeah, definitely,
Quicker.
definitely.
How would you go about that?
Oh, well, the easiest way and the most acceptable way, I think, at least impact on the cities
Mhm.
as they are, is the willow building. You
Mhm.
can build structures from willow, so big bundles, and you can bend them and make arches or really good structures. And I've made a wedding chapel for myself. I was married last year and I made a wedding chapel, and it's a reused light. How do you call it? It's a lichtstraat, we call it in Dutch. It's a light street.
Yeah.
It's the curved shaped light things that are on roofs.
Oh yeah.
With, yeah.
Yeah.
So I took that apart and I put that in a willow frame.
Mhm.
So you have a waterproof roof in a living frame, and that could be is very suited, for example, the bus stops where you could want to stand dry, and you can make benches out of it, which you can directly use. You can sit on the living willow right away, and like that would be a nice first step for cities. If you have a couple of structures and also lamp posts,
Yeah.
you can put lamp posts
Sort of surround
in
them
trees.
with
Yeah.
willows, willow branches.
And we have a technique, earth bag building, which
Yeah,
is a
tell
known.
about that.
Yeah, it's a known technique. It was developed for the moon and Mars, so they have to take very little with them to fill them with local sediment,
Mhm.
and then stack them into houses, and then we fill them with proper dirt, so nice black greasy dirt, and then we stack them into a house. And then we plant a tree in every bag, and we interconnect the trees, and all the connection points, they will grow into each other and share their sap stream.
Mhm.
And then you have a house with a living tree on the outside, which will just grow stronger and bigger, and eventually it will be a living wall.
A living, yeah,
yeah.
facade.
Yeah,
In fact.
yeah. And we're
Blooming
actually,
wall.
yeah, we're designing the houses now. We want to start a crowdfund end of April.
Yeah, that's for you want to build a town like this.
Yeah, we want to build a whole town.
Yeah, what are I know you probably don't want to give too much away on this.
Oh
idea.
yes, we don't have any secrets.
Okay,
No.
fantastic. Yes. Okay, how are you going to go about this? You're right now in the planning phase
Yeah.
or in the design phase?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, we need the designs to show people it can actually be done, because if I talk about it, I notice that a lot of people cannot get a picture with it. I don't want to live in a hole in the earth or in a hut
Or like a hobbit.
or like a hobbit. So we're now, I have invited 10 artists
Hmm.
2 weeks ago, and a architect and some people for the planning. And we had a day, and then now I've already have the first 6 houses are already drawn. Yeah, it's going really fast. They're really
Including
enthusiastic.
rooms, everything else.
Rooms, interior, windows,
So with layout, floor plans,
floor
layout, and everything.
plans, yeah, everything. And the crowdfund will be for to get the plan started. We want to write a book
Hmm.
with which explains how to build a living house or a living village, and therefore we need to invest at least 2 months of architectural time, and the artists need to draw full time.
Have you already got architects included in?
Yeah,
Or,
we
and
have.
working together with the artists,
Yeah,
and vice versa?
yeah. We have Oreo Architects,
Yeah.
which is a Dutch architect who is specialized in ecological building. Just 15 kilometers from here, he has designed a earthship area with 23 earthships, which are being built right now. Yeah, and he is a straw bale building is his specialty. And 7th of May, he's gonna present his book. He wrote a book, and he just called me yesterday if I would talk on his book presentation about building with live material. So
Fabulous.
yeah, we've been friends for 7 years now, since my first speech, which he was at. He's been following me, and he's trying to get people to invest in a living house. And it's still quite hard because we don't have the visuals,
Mhm.
which we're working on now.
Right.
And we really need them to show people that it's not a hut or a basic living. You can actually build a luxury villa out of it if you
Right.
want. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Do you see, well, with this town, where will you be planting this town? It's,
Well,
you can never ever say, you could not say that before. I think it's
I'm gonna plant the
immensely
town. Yeah,
fantastic. When are you going to plant this town? Where do you already have a site?
I
this?
have some sites in my vision, and they're nearby. This is we're now in Overijssel, Holland, and this is where I would like to get this project started, because I have a huge network of builders and friends who are capable to actually build this town for free. So we just
Amazing, too.
so we just need the materials. So we're going to do now the crowdfund for the plan. We're going to take 2 or 3 months to present a proper book, which we will for a low donation or free downloadable. It will be for anyone to use. And then afterwards we will start the crowdfund to buy the land. And if we won't get enough money to buy it, we will just rent it. You can rent land here for, like, say, 100 years. You get a contract for 100 years,
All
and then
right.
it's just set. Like farmers also do a lot like those kind of rent. I don't know how it's called in English, but
I'm not sure. I would
it's
have
a
to look it up.
special land rent. So if the funds will be low, we'll rent. If they're high enough, we will buy. And buying is preferable because we won't have anyone to look us on the fingers what we're doing. It'll be
Right.
proper. If it's property, it's easier to go around the rules. And the beautiful thing about building with live trees is that there are no rules.
No.
There's no law against planting a tree in whatever shape, in whatever.
That's
Of course,
cities and,
you can, but on farmland or agricultural land, you can
It's
start.
open.
Yeah, because you can just call it, if you plant trees like apples and fruit and nuts on the houses, it's we're gonna call it a nursery for shaped trees.
Right.
And we shape them in the shape of houses. And
So
then,
your planted house also eventually becomes edible. In
it is,
fact, you
yeah.
can
Well,
graze on
the
your
thing,
house.
the idea for the village is that it's going to be completely sustainable, and the houses will be mostly edible. Like on the north side of a house, it's hard to grow fruit and
course.
stuff. So we use beech or oak on that side to make it really durable, because an oak tree can get 800 to 1200
Yes.
years old. So it's also really durable houses. And the beautiful thing with these houses, they grow on. Like if you start with a simple like hobbit hole, like a dome
Yeah.
structure, the trees will grow and sturdy the place up, and then you can just all the trees they grow also in the air, and you can shape them in whatever shape you want them. It's guiding trees. It's called arbor sculpture,
Cool.
and you can also, once it's strong enough, stack earth bags on top of them again. So you can make, let's say, for example, 5 domes in a certain setting, and then you can, in the 40 years that come, you can guide them towards each other and make it eventually grow it into one building.
Right.
So the
Into
first
a
houses
dome.
will be the pillars for a bigger structure that will be later on.
Right.
So it's also an idea that will, like, children will have to carry on, and the children's children will carry on, and in a couple of 100 years it will
Kind of
be
similar
massive.
to the video I sent you about the living bridges.
Yes, exactly.
Where the
It's the
children
same
learn
principle.
The process.
Only the thing is, like, so far people have grown structures, and there's also a guy in Germany who wants to grow houses, and a Austrian man has written a book in 1927 of how to grow a house, but they all
Wow.
they all use the principle of growing. You plant it and then you wait and you guide it and you wait and you guide, but then a house would take 80 years to
grow.
to grow.
And your method
And
is
this time in space we are really fast. Everybody's really fast. Everything has to go fast. We're in a fast society. So this was also one of the challenges I faced with this idea. Like, how can I get this growing a house up to speed to fit modern day society?
right.
And that's with the earthbag building, because you stack a dome in, it depends on
Yeah,
how
but
many
also
people.
with this
but
method that you're using the willow branches because they almost instantly root.
Yeah.
And by the time you've got it all set into the soil, woven into the particular shapes and formations, by the time spring rolls around,
And it
you're
starts
already
growing.
creating closed walls.
Well, to get a closed wall out of this will take, like, as soon as this one is 6 centimeters and the other one too, they will reach each other, and then will grow into a solid wall. Like, this will be in 5 to 6 years will be a solid structure. But to grow a house like that will still take a long time.
Sure.
So that's why we use the earthbag building, because we also then have 60 centimeters walls. So for the winter and stuff, you can get the cold, you can keep the cold out, and on the inside you can just finish it off with loam or whatever you want to
Right.
decorate
And
your house with.
what would be the energy source in such a structure?
Well, probably wood, because we have a lot of cuttings from our houses which you can dry and
Well, let's say the
burn.
cuttings are finished. Would there be a consideration of bringing solar energy?
Definitely, yeah. For electricity, we're going to
Or
use
wind
solar,
energy.
wind energy, any renewable source will do fine. And we also want, like, there's a lot. We're going to do a lot of vegetable gardens. We're going to be an edible town, so there will
And
be a
water?
lot of green. And we're going to also make a biogas installation for all the green. And water is a bit of a difficult point in Holland, because you're not allowed to get water from the ground and clean it and drink it. It's in the system. So that's sort of one of the points where Holland has a rule for this kind of
It's the little
things.
government
And
official
also
syndrome.
and also the waste, like the sewage,
Right.
you have to have a proper sewer installation in Holland or connected to the main sewer. But I think
Well,
the first-
generally in totally sustainable buildings, there are ways to recycle the waste,
Yeah.
and the waste can be used, for example, on the veggie gardens, etc.,
Yeah.
so forth. The gray water used in washing machines or showers
Yeah.
can be recycled to water plants,
Yeah,
etc., etc.
exactly, that's what we're going to also use. And I have a design for a willow toilet.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's actually sort of a hollow willow. So I take bundles of willow and make a massive wall, make a hollow tree, and then put a little house on top, and I'll plant it inside a plastic container, because we in Holland again we cannot urinate or poo directly on the ground,
Right.
which can seep into the groundwater.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to have an enclosed container. Within that, I'll plant the willow tree, and then make a little house on top where you can just poo your
heart out.
Heart out, and you can fill up the tree. And the higher you fill it up, the higher the tree grows. So it'll grow with, and eventually, in a couple of 100 years, you can use this toilet as a giant pillar for a structure.
Yes. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Then you really have a shit house.
Yeah. A
Indeed,
shit tree.
indeed. What do you think about using, or have you ever used bamboo?
Bamboo? No, I haven't, because it's grass. It's a type of grass, bamboo, and they don't grow into each other.
Ah.
You can easily grow them into shapes, and it's nice to grow them into shapes, then cut them and use them as a part of something, which people already have done.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a bicycle grown from bamboo, but it's just, you can just get the one bamboo, you shape it, and that's it. Then you cut it and use it. And
Will willow grow around it?
a willow,
Envelop it, I mean, like
yeah,
that?
willow just melts together, and they also share their sap stream.
Mm-hmm.
So once, like for example, this part, if this is grown into each other, and I would cut out a window like this,
Mm-hmm.
the sap would just go around, and the whole structure will stay alive.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you have a perennially living house, in fact.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm really knocked out. Wow. How, I'm sure we may have talked about this a little bit already, but to apply this to cities, also there's the LEED standard in the United States, which is a standard of level of sustainability, and according to how much sustainable stuff you've got going on in a structure that you've built, then you get a higher LEED standard. And I think I just knocked this guy over.
Nope.
And I wonder if by building structures the way you do, living structures, incorporating them into cities as they are now, how that would affect the LEED standard.
That's the difficult part. In Holland, I wouldn't be able to do it right now, because we have something called a welstandscommissie, which is a
A
group.
pain in the neck.
Yeah, which is a group that says this kind of shape or this color or this doesn't fit with the rest of the street, so you can't build it. On the other side,
Yeah.
we're not building, we're growing. And
Exactly.
if you have your own garden, if you would plant a house in your garden, and as soon as it's finished you would tear down the house in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
you again theoretically wouldn't need any paperwork, or you wouldn't, there are no regulations for planting trees again. Also in the city, within your own yard, as long as you don't reach over on the neighbor's yard,
Right.
you wouldn't have a problem. But the first one, the first one who's going to build a living house in a town will probably get a lot of people who are going to ask questions and say
I
you
think in a
can't do
town
this.
it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
In a city like Amsterdam, there's always somebody in the neighborhood who's going to be the
Yeah. On the other
devil's
hand, those
advocate and
cities
cause trouble.
hopefully are running into the problems we all face, like the air pollution, well, these cities they're used to artists, they're used to strange structures, they're already there. So on a special location, you might actually get it going in even Amsterdam.
Have you also investigated the idea of how the structures you're planting, these living houses that you're planting,
Yeah.
what effect would they have on air quality? How is the air quality within a structure, and how is it outside of that structure, if they're going to be able to do this in a city?
Yeah, well, it's been tested not by me but by other people, that a few trees in a town already improve the air quality by a lot.
Yeah.
So this is for if you have a really huge tree. Actually, first they're all small trees, but they grow into one huge tree. First of all, you wouldn't have the concrete or the black roofing, which will create heat from the sun. You'd have a green roof, but you'd also have a lot of. It also, of course, depends on which tree you use.
Of course.
but you could sort of fix that to the city you're in. Like if there's in a city a lot of trees already going on, you can see, okay, these trees work well in this ground quality, so you use what's already there and go on with that.
Elm.
Elm.
Eep, a tree. How would you use elm, for example? There are a lot of elm trees in Amsterdam, for example.
Well, you just take young ones. So you just need this big ones, and if
Okay.
you and the earth bag system is you plant one tree and you just have to get to the next earth bag because
Right.
there's another tree and you connect it there. So you use really young trees, and the young trees already the first years they grow really fast, and then the bigger they get, the slower they grow. So you'd have a greenhouse actually from the moment you plant it, because young trees also give a lot of leaves, and then within a couple of years it's grown into each other, and you'd have beautiful green
And with
setting.
okay, fantastic. With the experience that you already have, do you also see that these structures, be they fences or a structure like the one we're sitting in right now, attracts biodiversity, bees, butterflies, birds?
Yeah, the willow actually is one of the first trees that flowers. It gives first these nice woolly, well,
Yeah,
you
little
can see them, yeah,
catkins kind of
catkins,
things.
yeah, and they really early in spring they get these yellow sprouts out of them. With the bees love them, so it's the first tree that the bees can feed upon. And
Right.
also the willow is known for its biodiversity. It's a pioneer tree where there's nothing. There will if it's wet, there will first be a willow.
So it's very hardy.
Yeah, and for the other pioneer is the birch, and which is also really good usable
Yeah,
to
there's
build
one
with.
more, and I can never remember the name. It's very hardy. You can put it in intensely dry areas.
Okay.
A guy named Willie Smits did this in Borneo.
Okay. Well, I don't live in a really intense dry area, so
No, and
I
it's
know
dreadfully wet here.
for now I know the trees that live in Holland, and know how to use them. But you could do it all over the world. You just have to be there for a couple of months, ask the local people who know about trees, which trees have which abilities, and then well, use what you see. If you're in an area where a lot of trees of the same species grow really well, then it's it's easy to
It's-
use those trees for a house or
Exactly, it'll be sort of
yeah,
right there on your doorstep
Yeah.
what to do.
yeah.
Do you see an application, for example, of the earth bags in areas where natural calamities have occurred, or wars, or anything where there are homes needed, there are houses needed,
Yeah,
and you
it's
could put earth bags there? How do you see a
Yeah.
future in that?
Yes, because the earth bags themselves, they're very light, so you could put them on a plane or whatever, and you can ship them out really fast. And you can use local soil because you can use your local trees. They grow on local soil, so you fill the bags with local soil. You don't need anything else but a shovel, a bag, and a knife, and some cord to
Right.
connect to the trees, and you can build. And once you've built that and it's full grown, say it's 10 years after you build it, a tree is really strong. Like a tsunami will knock a tree down, but it won't knock a tree down if it's built architecturally in a dome shape.
Right.
You could put a tsunami on it, and it will, the branches will break off, but the
Sure.
structure will
The
stay.
structure will stay.
So if you use it for calamities, you'll know next calamity you won't have to go there again.
Indeed. what would be the cost of something like that?
Material-wise, that's Dutch costs. I have to buy the bags here expensively, but if you have second-hand bags, it's cheaper. But if we buy everything new, trees from the nursery and stuff like that, for a 10-meter round house, 3.5 meter high, I'm looking at 10 to 15,000 euros.
Not bad for a little house.
And then you buy everything, but you can of course also collect young trees, because a tree is like 4 or 5 euro a piece. And
Right.
you need a lot of trees. That's actually the highest cost of the house. And for the windows, for the all those things you can make yourself. You make a nice sandbag, you take a pattern, you dig it out, you fill it with the cement and steel, and you have your your shapes for to put windows in,
Right.
and trees won't push it away.
How about here? Because here you're putting in, well, they're not totally see-through windows, but they will function as windows. So
Yeah,
they're all tied up, bound in tight.
yeah.
So basically you have to wait until the trees themselves hold it in place.
Yeah, they already hold them in place. The ropes and stuff are for the blocks to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
But within 2 years, this will be grown in this shape. So when you then take out the rope,
Yeah.
it will stay in this shape. And within 4 to 5 years, it will be all these bundles will be solid trees. They melt into each other, and where they have an obstacle, they go around. There's a lot of pictures on the net with motorcycles and bicycles grown into trees.
Yes.
And this is also going to be grown into the tree.
What? How tall a structure could you eventually plant?
Theoretically or
Yeah.
practically?
Theoretically, and then we go to practically.
Theoretically, we could go as high as the tree limit, like on a mountain somewhere the tree stops on a height, it's a couple of kilometers, I think. Theoretically, could build that high, and with the techniques we have now, like all the modern techniques, it's the same height. Only you build differently. You build with trees, and practically with the group I have now, I have suggested to a couple of friends, like, what if we would build Home Tree from Avatar, a replica on Dutch soil, wet soil, because we need a lot of water.
Yeah.
How high could we get? And the answer was 30 meters across, 100 meters high. We can build, and it would cost, because
Sure.
this big and this fast building needs modern structures to first hold it. But if you eventually, the structures, you could take them out, because once the trees are interconnected and say 30, 40 years they're really massive,
Right.
then they carry themselves.
And they bear their own weight.
They bear their own weight, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. I would love to see this everywhere.
Me too, yeah.
So for this city, this town that you want to plant, what kind of funding are you seeking? Like what's the amount you need to get started?
The highest
Since
amount
this
we
is a
need
very
is
good opportunity to put it out there.
yeah. For the land in Holland, and we need quite a big space to
How
build
much
it.
space are you looking at?
A minimum of 10 hectare, which is how many
It's about
acres?
2 acres approximately to a hectare.
Okay, yeah, well, 10
I
hectare.
can look it up.
Yeah, well, it's 200. I prefer 100, of course, because then we will build a bigger town.
Of course, of course. No, I totally agree.
And I'd love to go really big.
Uh-huh.
And that's the most expensive part. So in Holland, an
How much is it?
hectare is about 20 to 40,000 euros per hectare. So you'd need for 10, you'd need 400,000
Yeah.
just to buy the land. And then we need a small team to maybe 5 people. We have to buy them free from society, so they have time to actually do it, and they have families and houses, so we need to get their salary.
Yep.
And the rest we will do with volunteers and some material. But most material we will get for free. There's a lot of free waste in Holland. A lot of people just throw away anything, and once you have a good cause, they'll happily throw it my way.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
So
Yeah, plus the
yeah.
fact that so many people are cutting willow branches off and trimming
Yeah,
and
and the willow we will use for bridges and benches, the lighting in town, and the houses we're planning to plant with apple and other fruits and nuts, and so to make it edible.
fantastic. And these, whose are these houses going to be for sale or? Are the people who
And
are building them automatically going to be able to? How is that
no,
going to
not
work?
really.
How are
We're-
you going to attract people?
We have a sort of a team which from the beginning already was really excited and really wants to live there, and also are builders and they have something to contribute.
Hmm.
And then once it starts, people, volunteers and woofers and backpackers will travel through and will first make also arrangements that they can stay and sleep.
Hmm.
And then some people who travel through, they just click with the main team, and
Right.
they stay because we're aiming for a really nice, friendly town. And I've been in a lot of communities, and it's most of the time you put people together and then figure out how to live together,
Yeah.
and it's always really a big struggle.
Yeah.
So we want to have a team of friends, and then people who travel through and click have they sort of stay,
Hmm.
and then
Would you be setting up a school so people from wherever in the world can come and learn how to
yeah,
do this?
yeah, and we just found a name for our team that goes from the town out
Mhm.
into the villages and stuff to green up Holland and the rest of the world.
Hmm.
We're gonna call them 3 Force 1.
Awesome. Love it.
So we're gonna, from the town, we're gonna move out into the towns, green it up, and retreat and attack again.
Hmm.
But I also want to do courses for gardeners and for builders and for.
How about
any-
architectural students?
Also, we have an architect, and
Mhm.
but we also are really happy with input. Like if people are doing architectural studies, come and teach us. You know, we always open for suggestions, and we always want to find new paths and new ways, because we're at the beginning of a new way of building, and this is a nice beginning. But there's much more to discover once more people go do this.
Mhm.
It's going to grow out of proportion.
Yeah, there's an architect with whom I have contact via Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and of course through Biotope City Journal, Kaveh Arch. He's from Iran, and he would call this archinature.
Archinature.
That's his
A
term.
nice,
That's
a nice
his term, and I
yeah.
think it definitely applies to what you're doing. And he would certainly applaud what you're doing.
Nice,
And
yeah.
being an architect, it would be very interesting to put you two together.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Yeah.
And I also definitely see getting someone like you lecturing to oncoming architects.
Yeah.
They need to learn so much about sustainability and a new way of building.
Yeah.
And it's not just the fact that a new way of building is by including solar panels or wind energy or a recycling system for gray water, etc., and for waste. It needs to be, nature needs to be included, and you've
Yeah.
got it down. You've got something
Thank you.
huge here
Yeah.
that they need to learn.
I have done some lectures for also some architects and eco builders,
Yeah.
and they were all very enthusiastic, and they fired some really direct questions at me, like all the stuff that could go wrong, and I've been doing that for 5 years, so I've had all the questions from all the people, and for every question I found an answer which satisfied them.
Good.
Yeah.
No, because I also believe that nature has a way of fixing things.
Yeah. It
And
does.
because we've become so distanced from nature, we fight nature all the time, and this is working with nature.
Yeah, and
in
it's the
every
same material. Yeah,
facet.
we're used to building with wood. Like we've built with wood a long time. Only this wood is alive. And the beautiful thing of a normal house, once you've built it, it'll start breaking down.
Yes.
You know, wear and tear and influence from the weather. And this type of building, once you've planted it, it will start to grow. And if it gets hurt, if something breaks, it'll
Mhm.
restore itself. With a
Yes.
little guidance of man, it will restore itself. And this is what I really like about this way of building.
Well, I don't like it. I love it. I really do. I'm seriously impressed. I see so many possibilities, and I see what you're doing going very far.
Yeah.
Not just in Holland, but elsewhere. The adaptation to other climates other types of trees, other areas, be they in flood areas, even in areas where there's drought,
Yeah.
with pioneering trees.
Yeah.
So much could be done, and people would be afforded not only a home, it would be a living home, and at the same time providing trees in a country where trees no longer, or almost no longer exist.
Yeah.
So you're doing several things in one go. It's I'm amazed. Yes, bravo, bravo.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bravo. Keep up the good work.
I will.
And keep me posted,
I will. And
because as it goes along, I'd like to be able to give more information, either through a small article,
Mhm.
etc. So forth, on Biotope City Journal, BCJ as it's called. Because I think this is important. I think more and more people need to know about it. I think especially the oncoming architects, young architects, need to learn this.
yeah.
Need to. It's, if I say must or should, it's like,
Yeah.
they need to learn it. It's for our own survival as well as the survival of the planet.
Yeah.
It's very necessary.
Yeah, it's also why I started, because it needs to be done right now, and it's not my idea. I didn't think it up. It just fell in my head, and therefore I also want to, give it free to the world. Anyone who wants to try this or do it for themselves.
Go for it.
The book will be there hopefully in a couple of months, and then I'll just put it online. And the first living village, daughter living village in France is already. There are already people who want to use this concept in France.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so it's
Where in France?
Bretagne somewhere.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So will they be coming here as well to learn the process? Or?
Yeah, next month I have I'm going to reforest a cut down forest, and we're going to do that Green Man style. So we're going to make nice lounge areas out of willow and gardens with vegetables and flowers and nice structures, where there was once just straight lines of trees, the planted Dutch way planted trees.
Yeah.
And
Nice and tidy in little rows.
and a lot of people from who want to start the village in France will be there and help and learn,
Fantastic.
and it's open for everybody. This it's 13th of April until 17th. And we're
Got
gonna
that?
Have a camp.
Get those dates
Yeah,
down,
we're gonna
people.
put a camp down there. Everybody's welcome. Bring your own food and sleep area, and we're gonna pimp the forest.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
This was Bob Radstake of the Green Man Project. You want information? He's on Facebook as the Green Man Project. You can learn a lot from him, and all you oncoming architects, go for it. This is the man you need to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you.